Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Travel Coach, moving body, mind, and spirit. My guest today is a publisher, editor, and writer from Baltimore. She's the founder of Highlander Press, a boutique publishing company which was born after she walked El Camino de Santiago. Along the way, she learned a lot about herself, achieving a massive personal transformation. She's walked nearly 350 miles of the ancient pilgrimage path, and her goal is to reach Santiago in 2023. Deborah Kevin, welcome to the Travel Coach.
Thank you so much for having me, Sonia. I'm really excited to talk with you and about the Camino.
I'm so excited about your story and cannot wait to get to know more about it. But before that, would you mind to share a little bit about your relationship with travel growing up? What are your memories of this phase of your life?
Sure. It's a great question. So my dad was in the military. He was actually in the Navy. And back in the 60s and 70s, when I was very young, he was deployed for months and sometimes years at a time. And so what my family did was we traveled all around the United States and we saw everything that we could possibly see. There are photos of me hiking the Wisconsin Dells at 4 years old, pictures of me standing inside of General Sherman, which is a huge redwood tree, the Everglades all over the place. But what really made me a traveler was my dad. He took the most gorgeous photographs from his travels across the world. And so I grew up watching his slides of ancient Greece and the cobras coming out of the baskets in the markets of India and Hong Kong. And so I wanted to travel to all the places that he had been.
Wow, that's amazing. You're very fortunate to have all these experiences as a little kid as well, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So about Del Camino de Santiago, everything started with the movie The Way. How this happened and what was your situation in that moment of your life?
Yes. So my life back I think I saw the movie the first time like in 2013. And a very good friend of mine saw it first and he contacted me and he said, Debbie, you love to hike. You love all of this. I think this is a movie you need to watch. And I had kids who were, going into high school and going into middle school. So they were not too interested in sitting down and watching a film about hiking with their mom. And so I watched it by myself and I was completely captivated. There was something about that path that just spoke to me. And so I pestered everyone, my kids, my then husband, and said, we have to watch this movie. Please watch this movie with me. And at the end of watching it as a family, I turned to my husband and I said, I'm going to walk the Camino someday. And he laughed at me. He said, you'll never do it. And as you might imagine, that made me want to do it even more. I didn't know why I was being called to it, but I did know that that was sort of the first step to recognizing that this is not a relationship that is serving me and in my life. And so I started down a path to change my life in that moment. It took a few years, but that was kind of what was happening. But I kept watching the movie over and over again. And I can't tell you why, but I believe that we're called to do certain things in our lives. And as long as we answer those calls, we can discover more about ourselves than we ever thought possible.
Wow, that's so impressive. So only the movie itself, before the Camino, only the movie already started, telling you about your relationship, about your calling, your purpose. Yes. Maybe you were looking for answers. We don't know what was it, right? So you only knew you had to do it.
I had to do it. And it wasn't rational. I had to do it. And so I joined, I had my own business. I wasn't a publisher quite yet, but I was a writer. and I went to a business mastermind meeting in Stamford, Connecticut, and put my stuff down at this table, and this woman came over and put her stuff down, and we introduced ourselves. She was British, and I said, what do you do? And she says, oh, I take women walking on the Camino. And I
My
literally
God.
said, you're shitting me. I, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. If ever there was a universal, if you ever question, if you set your intention, something happens, in that moment, I knew. And I said to her, I need to know everything about what you do. I need to know, send me your website. And unbeknownst to me, she had just started her business. She'd never taken people. She'd walked the entire Camino, but she'd never taken people. And so I was her first person. I signed up that very day,
Wow.
paid my deposit, and said, I'm coming with you.
My God, Deborah. So your decision was so committed that
Mm-hmm.
you're going to do it, that all the things, were aligned, and the people that you need, the right people, were sent to you.
Yeah.
And you didn't hesitate at all. So you paid the same day. You said, yeah,
Yep.
you recognized the sign and you took action.
Yes.
That's amazing.
I found that in looking back over my life, when I am completely clear about what I want to have happen, it does. And as you said, the right people come at the exact right time. And when you're not pushing and you're not deciding how it's going to be, and you're open to exploring, it's the beginning of that transformation that you talked about, really, truly.
It feels like magic, right?
It really does.
So what were the challenges? Because you talk about your then husband saying, you cannot do that. So I suppose, I don't know, emotional, physical, what were the challenges you had to overcome to make this decision?
So some of it was, timing. My kids, I waited until my oldest son was in college and my youngest son was a senior in high school, junior in high school. And so they were self-sufficient. My younger son was going to stay with his dad, and I knew that 6 months leading up to the first segment that I was going to do, I had to hike a lot. And fortunately, it was winter, so it was cool. I, got fitted for what I thought was the right backpack. I got shoes, I got all my stuff, and I was out on the trail hiking at least 3 to 5 miles every day. I was walking, very comfortable. I mean, I've hiked all over the world. I've hiked the Alps. I've hiked in the Rockies, part of the Appalachian Trail. I am not a stranger to hiking, but the Camino is completely different.
Why is that?
The Camino is mostly on hard surfaces. It's not a lot of constant climbing. It's not like hiking in the Alps. It's not like walking a forest path. A lot of it is very flat and gravel. And so how I thought I was prepared, I really wasn't. I had shoes that I hiked in for hundreds of miles. They were broken in. I wore them everywhere, but they were too small and they were waterproof, so they weren't breathable. And really on the Camino, what you need are shoes that are more like sneakers. And so they need to breathe. Your feet need to expand because you're walking on hard surfaces. You're walking through, although it's an ancient pilgrimage, you're walking through towns. You're walking alongside of highways. And so I didn't have the right equipment. So that's one thing. And the people here who helped me are very familiar with the Pacific Coast Trail. They're very familiar with the Appalachian Trail, which the needs are just very different.
That's interesting. Some people also, the common mistake most people share with me is to pack too much. Did you also have this problem?
Did
More
I
than you
have
need,
this
right?
problem? So, I'm not a spring chicken, and so I knew that I was going to stay in hotels that we booked ahead of time. I wasn't going to do the hostel thing, so I was able to send a small suitcase ahead, so I didn't have to carry everything on my back. But I went and I told the people at the place where I got my equipment that I was going to be walking the Camino, but they weren't familiar, and they insisted that I get this huge pack. And I was a Girl Scout. My brothers were Boy Scouts, and the motto is be prepared. So what do? You pack everything in your backpack because, oh, I can carry this. I carried it around. I toted stuff around. But it's very different walking 24 miles in the hot sun with 40 pounds on your back when you don't really need to have 40 pounds on your back. So yeah, I completely overpacked the first time, but not the second time.
Okay, let's go to this. So the first time,
Yeah,
right? So you did it
first
twice.
time.
The first time you didn't know so much what to expect. You never
Mm-hmm.
been before. So what were the thoughts or the worries or the fears when you just take that plane and you were flying to Paris and to France? You fly.
I flew to France first, yep, and so I walked the first 80 miles. I walked actually in France. So it was so there's just a little bit of history. There's the total. There are pilgrims paths all over Europe. That's the first thing you need to know. And there are three major pilgrimages. One is to Rome, one is to Bethlehem, and one is to Santiago, which is where the bones of St. James are allegedly interred. So people come from all over Europe, Norway, Belgium, Germany, and they walk these paths. So there's multiple paths. The first pilgrim who ever walked the path did so in the early 900s, and he walked from Le Puy, France, which is in the middle of France, to Santiago, which is just over 1,000 miles. So there's a section of the Camino which is very old, and that's in France. Most people today start on the border of France and walk the 500 miles, only 500 miles, right? From the Pyrenees, over the Pyrenees, and then to Santiago. So I did a section in France, which was very different than it was in Spain. So yeah.
So what were the thoughts or the emotions
Yeah,
in your
so my
journey?
thoughts were, yeah, in my journey, you're walking, 24 miles a day on average, and you're alone. You stop and eat. The biggest decision you have to make is, what am I having for lunch? Because breakfast is taken care of, dinner's taken care of, and so you're with yourself, and that can be really uncomfortable. So the things that were going through my mind were, first of all, getting from Paris to Cahors and not really speaking French, knowing enough I can read more than I can speak. And I took 5 trains. I took from the airport, and every train got smaller and smaller and less English and less English until there was none. And so that was the first challenge. And I think there was a place I had to actually stop and say, the terminus wasn't Cahors, so I didn't even know which train to get on. But I arrived, got there safely, and wandered around for the day, just sort of, I'm here, I can't believe it, I'm here, I'm actually doing this, that it was surreal. But on the path, honestly, especially after I got hurt the first day, I twisted my ankle and ended up injuring my knee. And so all of the doubts started coming in. What if my ex-husband was right? What if I really can't do this? What if I get stuck? What if all the shoulding? I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have left home. Who am I to do this? This is crazy. Why? This is my idea of fun. So those are all the thoughts that are kind of going through until
because you were with a group, right?
Yep, I was with
a
5
group.
other women. Yep, yeah, 4 other women. Yeah, 5 other women.
So the first day you got injured, and could you walk, or you had to stop?
I did walk the first day I finished, and we had about 4 miles left to go. And we were walking on this very narrow strip of hardened dirt There was a gully of mud off to the right, and there was a field off to the left. And I was tired. I was exhausted, honestly. We'd walked about 20 miles by that point. It was getting dark, getting close to being dusk. And we kept thinking, over this next hill we'll be there. Over this next hill we'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
And we never were. And I just slipped, and I heard a ping in my knee, picked myself back up and kept going. But I realized that I ended up using my walking sticks as crutches for the last 4 miles. I had a knee brace. I have had knee problems. I had skiing injuries. I had hiking, I had biking injuries. I was prepared, but it was excruciating. Excruciating.
Oh my God, Deborah. So you were saying that you had lots of time to think and to do self-reflection. And first of all, my first question would be, do you think, or how this could be different if you were having this time in your hometown than being away and put things maybe into perspective different? How this reflection was different when you were away?
Yeah, I think well, first of all, you're completely unplugged on the Camino. You're not connected to social media at all. Your phone, you don't, it's in the backpack. You might take a few pictures with it, but you're just completely unplugged. And again, as a mom and as a business owner, I make a lot of decisions all day long. I'm always strategizing. And so this was the first time really in my life that I had to just be. And, the things that come up as you're realizing I've got way too much stuff. I came back from that trip feeling really unmoored. I think that's the strongest word I can find, where I felt like I was adrift. And I started going through closets and getting rid of things, like things that I no longer needed, things that I'd been holding on to. And that's both physical things and emotional things. You really start to think, like, what am I carrying in my physical pack that I no longer need? But what am I carrying in my emotional pack that I no longer need? What is weighing me down? And that was huge because, there's the physical stuff. Yeah, there's the voice of my ex-husband in my head, but there was my voice in my head. What do you need? What are all the shame, the things that if I could go back and do things differently, the looking in the rearview mirror that doesn't really serve anybody. And so what I came home with was this idea of list all of the things that you're carrying emotionally. Take a look at them objectively and really decide, what of this experience do you want to take forward with you? What lessons can you take? Discard the pain, discard the what ifs, discard all the other stuff, and you can be left with this beautiful set of lessons. And also then you can keep the lovely memories. They don't have to be intermingled with the hard stuff. And that was really the beginning of that transformation of, what do I want to keep? What do I want to have in my life? Awesome. And it was beautiful.
So you think, Deborah, that what triggered this spark was because you had this injury, or what was the combination of different things? What was?
Yeah, I think the injury certainly had a part of it, because it had me really questioning, could I do it? Can I do it? Because and I got injured again on the second part as well, but I had a different lesson that I took away from that. I think it was, you can do anything that you set your mind to. And you're being called for a reason. So trust that you're here, and maybe it's not clear yet why, but you're called to this. Trust that you're going to find out why. Trust that it'll become clear. You don't have to know all the answers. And I'm someone who, my colleagues would say, you get things that are Debbie done. You know, I know all the answers. I'm a strategist. I plan. I have a high cognitive ability to see the big picture. But when you're on the Camino, you know where you're going next, and you know the next town, but you don't know the experiences that you're going to have on the way. Are you going to have rain? Are you going to meet interesting people? Are you going to get hurt? Are you going to have a reaction to something you eat? Are you going to be delighted by the simplest things, the harvesting of the grapes in the Rioja region, or seeing birds flitting around, listening to the bird call? You know, you just never know.
You are more present. You are expecting the unexpected, walking in the unknown, being present and here.
Yes.
Wow. I love that. I love that. Okay, so we are in the first part of the Camino. You went back home, right?
I did. Yeah.
What happened? What was the Debbie back home? How do you felt this change? I don't know if it was some, you know, the plugging. You said you were unplugging, so the plugging again was difficult.
Yeah.
How was for you?
It was really unnerving, actually. I came home feeling like I didn't know who I was. And that lasted for several months. You know, trying to integrate this new knowledge and this new way of being, this being totally present and leaning in instead of trying to manipulate. So the first thing I did was I got a tattoo. I got a tattoo of the Camino symbol on my ankle. And I got it because I'm not someone who would normally get a tattoo. That's like the first thing you need to know. And it was extremely painful. But I love my tattoo because it reminds me every day, look forward. Look where you're going, not where you've been. And so I carry that physical memory on my ankle. So that's the first thing. The second was I started going through everything and I'm like, this doesn't, I want to get rid of stuff. I don't need all of these things. I've been saving all kinds of stuff for my kids and I wanted to be known for who I am. I didn't want them to discover these boxes and Mom was when she was alive. I want them to know me now. And so it just shifted everything. How I showed up in my business, how I showed up for myself, and the games of what's the universe going to bring me today started, right? I started to look for the unexpected at home and look for the magic wherever I am, not just when I'm away.
Wow, that's amazing, because I can imagine other people having experienced similar experiencing and then going back home and go back to the old patterns. And you actually brought with you all these learnings and experiences and benefits and integrated in your life. And then you experienced transformation.
Incredible transformation. Yeah. And let me talk a little bit about the second trip. I went back. This time I went for a month. I unplugged from my business, from my life. Both my kids are away at school. I had my cat. I didn't have my dog yet, but my cat was with a friend. And I had good shoes, a smaller pack. I packed way less. I'd been hiking. I went in the fall, so it was supposed to be cooler. And we were going up over the Pyrenees this time. So we went to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. It was just my friend Heather and I for the first 2 weeks. And then other ladies two other women were joining us about two-thirds of the way through. And then they were going to complete that last third with us. So we were going to be walking and resting and walking and resting. And the first day was 97 degrees, which is very, very hot. And there's no shade. I mean, when I say there is no shade up over the Pyrenees, there is no shade up over the Pyrenees. And so it's hot. They have water. I and walking down. We're going up over, we're on our way down. It's starting to get dark. We have a place to stay at an old monastery in Roncesvalles, which is an absolutely gorgeous place. Going down, it became loose shale. So I'm slipping all the footsteps. It's just ridges of shale, and you're just basically sliding down. And I knew that I had a hot spot on my heel. I could feel it, but I didn't dare take my shoes off. And about halfway down the shale, I felt the blister pop on my heel.
The first day?
The first day. First day again. The pain on a scale of 1 to 10 was probably a 15.
Oh.
And so every step, and there's nothing you have to keep going. I had about 3 miles left. It was wooded at this point as we're coming down. And I just decided if I keep focusing on how painful it is, I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm instead going to focus on the fact that I'm here. And I just started this gratitude mantra. Thank you, feet, for bringing me on this journey. Thank you, heart, for pumping my blood. Thank you, legs, for bringing me all this way. I know you're going to take me further. Thank you to my brain, and thank you to my body, and thank you to all of the things. Thank you for the water. I just kept doing the thank yous over and over and over. And I noticed something. There was no pain. None. From a scale of to 15, none. And as soon as I had that recollection, the pain was there again.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, I'm just going to keep this gratitude thing going. And I came home and I'm like, the science of this fascinated me. And it's your brain shuts off the neurotransmitters for pain and pleasure are the same. So if you're in gratitude, you're using the same transmitters, so your body doesn't feel pain at all.
That's so cool. So keeping in gratitude,
I got there. Yeah. Keeping in gratitude. I got there. Yeah. Done. And so I got to the hotel room and my blister burst. Unfortunately, I couldn't even wear my shoes. Like I had no heel. So we had to take a taxi from the town to we took a town to Pamplona, and we got there and Google Translate saved us because I'm speaking what I need, going into the pharmacy, and the pharmacist was amazing. I have some great pictures of this amazing pharmacist. So we ended up staying in Pamplona for a few days. I got this amazing hydrogen bandage, which is German made. I bought a bunch of them that actually healed my heel in record time. So I didn't walk for 4 days, but by the 4th day, I had new shoes, first of all, and this hydrogen bandage. And then I was able to walk from there on out. And I just stayed in gratitude. I had no pain. It was amazing.
Incredible. Beautiful. Oh my God. That's so empowering. That's so empowering.
It really is. The power of gratitude is incredible.
Yeah, it's good to keep in mind, right? When you are in this, because you could just panic. And what did you do? You could do nothing else. You were in the middle of nowhere. You had to keep going.
Yeah.
So this mantra was what saved you. Oh my God, Deborah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all this amazing story. I just could keep going and going, but
I know
time is flying when you have fun. When it just start wrapping up, I would like to, so if you want to share what happened when you came back from this trip, or if you plan to have the next part of the story soon, we can finish like this. And
yes, absolutely. So yes, I'm turning 60 in 2023. And so I plan to finish the rest of the 150 miles to sea. I'm going to Muxia on beyond even Santiago, but I do plan to stay for a length of time. I had planned to go last year, But COVID hit, so I just pushed off that last bit. And I don't know what will come from that. I do know that I have a huge amount of confidence. I know that it will be, again, an amazing adventure. I don't know what will come, but I know I can handle it because I have done, and I can't wait. I really can't wait. And so you asked me, what did I do when I come back from this trip?
Yeah. So
I
what
did much
was,
more of
if
the
it was a
same.
different kind of transformation, different kind of insights, or what was different from the first one?
The way that I came back from the second trip was really twofold. The first is I can be away from my life and my business for a month. And so that's what I'm going to do from now on. Because here in the United States, a week away and things are crazy. And so I really value that time to unplug and really get present. And so I bring that into even my living at home. I want to be completely present with the experience and slow down. I've slowed down and accomplished so much more as a result. I've gotten clearer and I'm having a really great time,
That's amazing. Deborah, if you had to say something, one tip or one, sentence to empower this person who is listening and is, thinking about El Camino, but maybe hesitating or afraid or worried, what would you say?
I would say if you feel called to the Camino, don't question. Don't question, do it, because the person you'll discover and the strengths that you'll discover and the joy and the challenges that you'll face trains you, but they'll change you in the most amazing way. You don't know who you're going to meet along the way. Become very close because people hold each other on the Camino. It's a very safe journey. You can do it alone because you're never alone on the Camino. There are pilgrims from all over, from all walks of life. So do it.
Buen camino, what they say.
Buen camino. Exactly.
Thank you,
Well, let me
Debbie.
show you my passport real quick.
Oh, please, yes. Oh, look at this. Wow.
Yeah, so you get stamps, and so I'll have this framed once it's completely filled out, and then I get my Compostela.
You will have your diploma, yeah?
Yep, my diploma, exactly.
Beautiful. Debbie, you know that I love collecting hidden gems from all around the world. So I don't want to let you go before you share with us what place in your town or region do you think is a must if somebody goes there?
I am so glad you asked this question because I live within walking distance of the quirkiest of quirky little towns in the Baltimore area, and it's called Hamden. And Hamden is this little tiny oasis that has all kinds of really fun festivals. First of all, they have the Hun Fest. So the Baltimore Hun Fest happens every June, and it's all these women and little girls who wear beehive hairdos and cat suits, and it's just crazy fun. They try to out-hun each other, which is a very Baltimore thing. But they also have the Miracle on 34th Street, which is this little street in Hamden that transforms completely at Christmas time. And people come from all over the world to walk this really quirky, kitschy little place. And it is a must-see. They have great restaurants, incredible ice cream, and just the best people in this area. So come to Hamden, Hun.
That's good to know. Wow, we take notes, especially in Christmas. Perfect.
Yeah.
Deborah, tell us what's the best way to contact. If anybody wants to contact you, what they should do.
Yes, thank you. So the best way to contact me is really via email. So I can be found at Debbie with a Y, DEBBY, at DeborahKevin.com. And it's DeborahKevin.com.
Perfect. Amazing. Wow. Thank you so much, Deborah, for all this wisdom shared and this empowered story. I cannot wait to get to know more and see you, everybody who is tuning in. happy and safe travels. Bye, Deborah. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.